All right, I see people coming into the room. Welcome. Welcome to today's webinar. It is a beautiful October morning. Always good to have a little Monday webinar. I'm joined by Tarcisio and Sara. Hello to the both of you.
Hola, Andrew.
Hi, welcome everyone.
All right, we're just going to wait for some people to gather. And while we're waiting, I'm going to post where I'm from. I am in Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota.
Thank you, Andrew. Who else is joining us from which states? It's exciting. We have a lot of people coming on. Gina, welcome. Jessica, Pam, Shakira, Sherry, Vicky, Wendy, welcome, welcome. Yesenia, thank you for being with us today. Where are you joining us from?
Pam, bienvenida. Hi, Shakira. DC, thank you. Allentown. Wendy. Pam, where are you residing at? Vicky. Gracias, Yesenia.
El Paso, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Got people from all over. Hi, Pam from Chicago.
Sorry, I was in Montgomery the other day, Saturday.
Really? Why you came to visit me?
Well, because I was tired. I was doing a presentation for a parents' university. Yeah.
Are you sure you weren't in Montgomery, Alabama?
No, Montgomery,
Just
Illinois.
double checking.
Oh.
All right. Well, it looks like we've got some people in the room, so I feel like we can move along. Welcome everyone to Be Strong Families webinar series, Staying Strong and Positive for Ourselves and Our Children. I'm Andrew Hitchcock. I am the person who usually has his camera turned off and mic muted, everything like that, and I get the slides rolling. Right now I'm on screen with Tarcisio and Sara, just welcoming people into the room. And I'm going to go over our ways to engage in agreements, and then I'll go back to my usual role of being off screen and like muted. So the ways to engage. So when you're ready to speak, please raise your hand and we'll ask for you to unmute yourself. Today's conversation is a really great one. I'm looking forward to hearing it, and we would love to hear from you. So if you feel like you have something that you would like to share during today's webinar, please raise your hand. I can unmute you. Otherwise, put it in the comments and we'll make sure that we get to it. And please be patient. Sometimes there's some technical difficulties, and we always appreciate the community being very supportive and understanding of those issues when they arise. Like all Be Strong Families conversations, we have some agreements that we would love for people to agree to in order that we can create a safe space for these conversations. So the first one is speak from your own experience using I statements, and then follow the golden rule, treat other people the way that you want to be treated. Full presence. I know that, you know, during our noon webinars, it's a great time to get some food, and, you know, everybody's gotta have some lunch every, you know, for Mondays especially, but please no multitasking, no playing Minesweeper or something like that in the background. We would love to have your full presence for this webinar. And then if you need a minute, take a minute. I'm gonna drop these agreements in the chat, but if you would be able to agree to them, then we can get this conversation going. And I'm gonna type I agree. All right, I'm seeing some agreements coming in. Love to see that. But I haven't seen it from Tarcisio. I haven't seen it from Sara. There we go. An agreement from Tarcisio. There we go.
I thought I was exempted.
No, everyone must agree. I see Sara has agreed as well. And with that, I am going to go off camera and we're going to move along to the next slide. And Tarcisio and Sara are going to introduce themselves and this conversation.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Tarcisio. Yes, we all agree. So here we are, and welcome again, the people that are just joining us. We're very excited to have this topic with you today, speaking your language. A conversation on integrating dual language clients full into your organization. So this is going to be a good topic, Tarcisio. What do you think?
I think I need to unmute myself first of all. But yeah, definitely. I mean, you're talking about language, being inclusive, organizations. I think the people we are here, we're gonna enrich this conversation. And just, you got me here. My name is Tarcisio Ornelas. My preferred pronouns are he or him and him. And in español is él o nosotras, because I'm mostly surrounded almost by everyone is always mostly women or females as I identify them. So when I'm with mostly females, as I identify them, I also part of nosotros, nosotras. So this is me, a senior trainer and technical assistant provider.
Thank you, Tarcisio. And really, we're going to have a conversation, and we're going to invite all of you to be part of this conversation. So thank you for using your chats and putting to everyone, because this is the way that you can communicate with us. And also, you can also open your microphone. So again, welcome. My name is Sara, and who am I and what am I doing here today? I was invited to be part of this webinar. Some of you probably haven't seen me on the Spanish ones. I'm supporting the Spanish webinars for Be Strong Families. I'm also a consultant with them, but I have a full-time job. I do work for community organizing and family issues. And what I do is really to work with a lot of people from different languages as well. And one of the purposes that we have is to really integrate communities and being more united. So this is definitely a topic that I have my passion on. So let's talk about it. Next, Andrew. Go ahead, Tarcisio. Do you want to mention this A More Perfect Union Pairing Café in a Box?
Yeah, thank you, Sara. Gracias. So a more perfect union is that, remember how our Constitution, as our Constitution, the Constitution of the United States begins, right? In order to create a more perfect union. And what does a more perfect union means to us in Be Strong Families? That being inclusive, putting in somebody else's shoes. So you can see here, this is a sample of two cards, one in English and one in Espanol. And by doing this, we're telling you it's not only the language. I want to be specific about this. We don't want to concentrate only, but we need to start somewhere. And language is one of the things. I believe, or I have the impression, most of us have been exposed to more than one language, more than just English, or more than just Espanol, right? We're being exposed to Japanese, Chinese. Yesterday I went downtown here in Chicago, and oh my God, families walking by, and it was different languages. I could identify at least 6 different languages in just the 30 minutes that I was out there. So how a better way to just coming, talking, having that conversation that you said, Sarah. And I don't know whose idea was to talk about this, but when I was asked to also participate in this, I was like, wow, of course I want to say my experience. I want to speak my my wisdom, but I also want to have a conversation with other people's experiences and wisdom. So what a more perfect way of starting this than creating a more perfect union among the participants today and in our agencies, in our organizations. And if you are interested, we have these on our web store.
Yeah, you can use the code that is on the screen right now. And definitely you can get it on the website, and you can see all these materials that were created at Tarcisio. And I think the idea was from parents. They really wanted to bring this kind of conversations to the table. And we recognize that there's a lot of things going on and a lot of things that we don't talk about as parents, but also within the organizations. So in collaboration with organizations and parents, and I'm going to say that I was also part of this creation of this Pairing Café journey as an immigrant, as a Spanish speaking. It was very important to have these conversations and put them together and bring them to all of you. So we are very excited to introduce them through this webinar, but feel free, we have so many other materials on our website that you can go and see and check. And like Tarcisio said, not only Spanish and English, but any language that if you have a need in your organization, just let us know. And we can just definitely create all these materials for the audience that you have or families that you're working with. So thank you. And we can go to the next one, Andrew. So we're going to explore a little bit about what is on the, what kind of questions do we have on this Pairing Café cards, right? The A More Perfect Union cards. So this is one of them, and there's several of them, but we're gonna talk a little bit, and Tarcisio and myself are gonna share our own stories, but also we are inviting you to be part of the conversation and also put your answers on the chat, and or feel free to raise your hand so Andrew can open your microphone. But what concepts or resources have helped you the most when it comes to expanding your capacity to include and embrace diversity? And I'm just going to answer this first, and I'm going to pass it to Tarcisio. But I think, what kind of resources? I'm going to be very honest with you. And I think one of the first resources that I got was like myself. Just being on the field of not being able to speak the language and to hear and to understand, but also I think motivated for my children. I mean, having them in the system and trying to look for better services for them, and not being able to communicate with doctors and teachers, and I mean, just reading like mail, anything that I was not aware how to do that, I think was one of the best things. I was like, what can I do for myself, but also how can I advocate for myself for having like the Spanish services or any kind of support. But also I could say like the next thing that happens to me was, and I'm gonna say this, Tarcisio, because you really helped me a lot when I become a parent leader in Be Strong Families in 2010. And you were like, but we need to do this pairing cafes in Spanish. We really need to bring this to the Latino community. And you and your wife, I believe you guys were like very persistent and like, we need to do this in Spanish. We need to do this in Spanish. And you guys were creating all the materials in Spanish. So that was very amazing. And just to see the passion that you guys have for the Latino community, I was like, well, let's do this. Let's do this together. And I was part of the movement, part of the team. And also the More Perfect Union Café, and developing all the materials with Be Strong Families, and not only in Spanish, but also other like different languages, and the passion to include people in all these kind of conversations and topics, I think was one of my main resources that I could share to like really being part of the being inclusive. And Tarcisio, I don't know, like you wanna go next?
Yeah, and then you do it in español, please. So as we practice, you know, inclusiveness and the concept of dual language. So you're mentioning me as one of the people that encourage you to do this. Very interesting, though. My first resource, being exposed to people from different backgrounds, not just only language, but race, ethnicity, language, sexual orientation, really, until I haven't been exposed. And this has been a journey. You know, it's a work in progress in my end. The concept of, okay, being, how does it make you feel to be included versus how I talk about any experience of not being included, and how did that make you feel? So in our organization, I just, exactly, you know, the training I was telling you I did on Saturday by your house, what was that, Aurora? It was about viewing parents through the lens of equity, and how important it is for me to experience first. So my main resource is people. And being an immigrant, I think I've been exposed to just making my own cave, staying in my cave, and not seeing the beautiful, what's happening right now in Chicago and around here. You know, it's like the different seasons, how things transition from one to another, but it's never always the same. You know, learning about diversity is not I know everything about diversity. Experiencing people telling me, okay, so your English does have some accent. You were telling me before we began this webinar, right? Yeah, so everyone has an accent, but are you just looking at my grammar? Are you paying attention to my accent? Or you're paying attention, seeing me through a lens of equity and how we all together. You were mentioning the training you are doing in Northern Illinois, right?
Mhm.
In the north of Chicago, Skokie, and what a diverse population that is. So resources, first one, people, the people in Chicago. I don't know if you can find that in other places, but to me, people. Finding commonalities, common things. One is being a parent, one is being a father, and how we can from there move on into other different feeling included in my persona. So going back to that, yes, we began with our passion of translating this into Spanish because there was a need to put this great news to the Spanish-speaking community. But then I remember you also bringing the issue to why don't we embrace diversity? And you being charged with at Be Strong Families, embracing diversity. You still remember that group? Abrazando Diversidad.
Yeah.
So yes, you were charged with a command, Sara. It's
Yes.
not only español. So I don't know if you want to say more about that too as well. So to me, it was people and the concept of it's not just the language. There is more to it.
Definitely. And one of the things that we always do in Be Strong Families is not only translating, but also adapting the language. So I think it's very important. How has been translated is not always how like it is like how people understand, definitely. So I'm just gonna say that also in Spanish. Y gracias por estar con nosotros y de verdad tener la paciencia, creo, ¿verdad?, de poder estar en un seminario donde es bilingüe. Y uno de los conceptos o recursos que me han ayudado a mí a ampliar más el concepto, a ser más inclusiva, ¿verdad?, pero también aprender más acerca de abrazar la diversidad, que decía Tarcisio. Les comentaba que yo les puedo decir que el primer concepto recurso sería mi propia experiencia como inmigrante, el venir a un país donde absolutamente no entendía nada al principio, ¿verdad? Y tener que salir adelante y saber que era tan importante poderme comunicar para poder expresar pues lo que quería, lo que sentía, pero también después me convertí en mamá y eso fue como mi motor para poder definitivamente involucrarme más en aprender el idioma y poder comunicarme con los maestros de mis hijos, con los doctores, decir qué pasaba, qué tenían. Hace 23 años no teníamos tanto servicio en español como lo tenemos ahora. Es tan importante, pero todo eso es como propias experiencias me ayudaron bastante a de verdad reflexionar y decir qué tan importante era para mí, no solamente el ser escuchada, pero el sentirme incluida. El decir, vamos a hablar, vamos a tratar de comunicarnos contigo, vamos a proveer un espacio para ti, para poderte comunicar. Pero también cuando yo empecé a estar conectada con los cafés para padres a través de Be Strong Families, ¿verdad? De hace ya en el 2010, 13 años casi, aquí con Tarcisio, y el deseo de ver a Tarcisio y a su esposa de decir, vamos a hacer los cafés en español, necesitamos los materiales, hay tanta gente latina que se puede beneficiar también de los factores de protección. Y fue así como empezamos, ¿verdad? A unirme, me uní a ellos y sé que ellos tenían que traducir bastante material, bastantes documentos para que la comunidad latina también fuera incluida. Y siempre haciendo la invitación, y era increíble cómo empezábamos a mover la energía y de verdad a traer gente que se beneficiaba de todos los programas y no solamente a la gente latina, les comento, tenemos nuestras tarjetas, nuestros materiales para hacer estas conversaciones en la comunidad, en diferentes organizaciones, en diferentes lenguajes, porque creemos que porque somos latinos, no solamente el español es importante, queremos honorar, ¿verdad?, a cada uno de los lenguajes e integrarlos en los materiales que estamos haciendo. Así que si ustedes están trabajando con otro tipo de audiencia donde necesiten cualquier otra traducción y adaptación, sobre todo, ¿verdad? Habíamos dicho, tenemos, por ejemplo, algunos materiales o los cafés para padres en francés, en chino, en swahili. ¿Cuál otro ejercicio? En arábico, sí, también.
Sorry, in Arabic, yeah.
Entonces también, si ustedes tienen alguna necesidad, nos encantaría trabajar con ustedes para que esto suceda, porque nuestro propósito es definitivamente ese, ser inclusives y de verdad abrazar la diversidad y ya lo decía Tarcisio, no solamente en el lenguaje, ¿verdad? Pero en cada una de las experiencias de nosotros también.
And thank you, Sarah. Gina Bieber shared, we have a variety of cultures, languages that attend our group connections. I have found that participation in these groups has increased my access to and understanding of these cultures and languages. And Gina, if you want to say that using your voice, your mic, just raise your hand so Andrew can open up the mic for you. I gotta say this in Espanol, and I know it could be kind of tiring for those of you who don't speak the language, and more tiring maybe sometimes for those who speak the language, is how he's saying the same thing over. That's part of, opening up my eyes and saying like, okay, so other people have to put up with my own Espanol when I don't have access, when I didn't have access to the English language. So mi primer recurso y mi recurso más fuerte ha sido la gente, las personas en sí, cómo ellos se han visto traído su riqueza, su sabiduría, sus experiencias a la conversación y ha aprendido de otras, como dijo Gina, right? As Gina mentioned, fueron otras culturas, no solamente del lenguaje, y cómo el lenguaje es importante. Language is very important. Aún en español, even in español, those of us who are here in this country and speak the language, we know that the same word have different meanings for different countries, okay? So in español, I say camión, in my español from Mexico, and Cuba, they say guagua, la guagua, el bus, el bus. So, and the meaning changes, and the concept, the concept change, but even allowing people to speak the language, I think that's what increased my interest in I don't allow anyone to just let people be themselves. You said empowered, and I said realizing. You said they make me a parent leader or something like that. And I go like, no, Sarah, you've been a parent leader since you became a parent. You've been a leader because your persona calls to be leadership. So tú no eres una líder desde que empezaste a hacer cafés. Has sido una líder. And I guess the other concept is allowing parents and people to be the leader they are already, just being human beings, right? So nomás por poner el espacio seguro para que la gente sean los líderes que son en sus familias como padres. And I don't see people raising their hands. I don't know if I don't have access to that, but I would like to hear from other people there about this question. What concepts or resources have helped you the most when it comes to expanding your capacity to include and embrace diversity?
Thank you, Tarcisio. Let's see. And if not, we can go to the next question on the screen. Thank you, Andrew. As an organization, what happens when you need to do or to be something that is different from the mainstream? Como organización, ¿qué sucede cuando necesitas ser o ser algo diferente de lo convencional? I think it's a really long process, Tarcisio. I do remember still when we tried to do with Be Strong Families and we created our own department, like you said, right? Embracing diversity was the department. Everything that needed to be translated any other language besides English, it was sent to this department when we were trying to figure out and bring this alive with all the materials, but also educating ourselves as an organization. I know that our CEO has been like very intentional about this. Like, how can we like not only develop ourselves and educate ourselves as a staff, as an individual, but also as a part of the organization? Like, how can we like making sure that it's not like only opening the space, but also making sure that people feels welcome, that it's not only the language, it's beyond the language, like you said, Tarcisio. And I think Be Strong Families has been doing like really, really good with doing this, and just like something that we can share during the pandemic. I mean, they created the English webinars, but also the Spanish, and we're going to talk more about that. But I think has been like great resources for other people, even though like not the whole team has been involved with the Spanish webinars, but if we can create, and we would love to create a space in Chinese or any other language, it would have like the the team, right? The capacity to do it. Unfortunately, we don't, but I think we have been doing a lot. And there's something also that we can partner with some of you and make it happen. I think is the best thing. Tarcisio, and I don't know if you can share something else about what else we have been doing.
So not only what we have been doing, Sarah, I remember that it's in español we say like, ¿cómo dicen? Algo como comer nopales con espinas. It is not easy. Getting out of the mainstream, it is to a certain point is when you get the hang of it, you're still getting the hang of it, it's kind of chaotic, kind of uncomfortable, because it's easier for me just to keep one language. It is easier for me to have just one kind of population. You were inviting people to open a can of worms, which I do agree with you. You said something like, and we say in los cafés, you know, actually in our evaluation of the café, the survey, we say, what other language besides English you would like to see cafés in? Just think about anyone just saying, okay, I want to see it in Vietnamese. We honor, you said it, and I do agree with you. We honor whatever you are asking for a certain language only. And a cultural approach, we honor, we want to really be serious about it. We're going to get in touch with you. One of the problems with Be Strong Families is once you come up with an idea, you are charged with it because we really believe that's a great idea all the time. So it's more than chaotic, it's uncomfortable, you know, opening up, you know, to the diversity in general, and it's not just the language. I hear some people show frustration in Be Strong Family, like, come on, why everything has to be translated into español? And I get like, when there is one person who so far hasn't learned the language, he or she needs our support. That parent needs our support, needs to be included. And I think it also creates a more sensitivity towards the other becoming one of us, or us becoming them. So there won't be any more them and us. There will always be just one us, like US. It's not any more them and us, all right? So I guess a lot of things happen when you open up yourself and your organization and go off the mainstream. The mainstream is, as agencies, as far as I'm concerned, it's about numbers, right? For funding purposes and service purposes. The mainstream is always go easier and fast and furious on that mainstream. But when you open yourself to other populations that are not mainstream, it's uncomfortable. But at the same time, I don't know your mission or your vision, but it's part of our mission and vision because we are like those outcasts, if you're gonna put it like that, people who were forgotten by the mainstream. That's what I have to say to this. And Gina shares something. Recent changes were made to our intake paperwork to include questions about preferred language to receive services and whether or not families are requesting translation services. We are then mandated to provide those services to the best of our ability if requested. Thank you, Gina. If requested, many times though, I mean, I'm a bad customer. I call AT&T and I said, español, por favor. They go, oh, let me put a translator. And I go like, no, just give me English, it's fine. But when they actually provide services to me and they end up saying like, okay, so you speak the language, why do you ask for español? And I say, because there might be one or two people who don't speak the language yet. And I'm not encouraging them to stay just speaking their own language. But at this point, they need this service. And yeah, translation is good. But Sarah mentioned just very briefly, this is more than translation, right? It is adaptation, translation. It is a lot more than just translation. You can use Google, and Google is going to give you some of it, but not the whole use of the context, the meaning, etc., etc. Thank you, Gina. Thank you. So, Gina, what organization is this? Just if you want to share it for us.
Thank you, Tarcisio. Y sí, definitivamente, ¿verdad? Un poquito de conversación español. Oh, wow. Rockford, actually, very close to us. ¿Qué podemos hacer, verdad? Como organización, ¿qué necesitamos hacer o ser? y les comentaba, ¿verdad?, de todo el proceso que se ha ido iniciando dentro de Be Strong Families como organización para poder adaptar y para poder ser más intencionales en ser inclusivos, no solamente con los clientes, ¿verdad?, pero en general, con quién estamos tratando. Hemos tenido la oportunidad de estar en otros países y hemos tenido la oportunidad de servir a través de los seminarios en español también, ¿verdad?, a familias latinas que no solamente viven en México, sino que viven en Guatemala, viven en Chile, están en diferentes estados de los Estados Unidos, ¿verdad? Y de esa manera podemos conectarnos, que al final del día es el objetivo, ¿verdad? De qué forma podemos conectarnos y estar unidos para poder ofrecer estos servicios. Entonces, sí, definitivamente es un gran reto, ¿verdad? Es traducir materiales, es crear nuevos departamentos como lo ha hecho Be Strong Families, pero también es definitivamente el estar abiertos para poder hacerlo. Muchas veces se requiere hasta crear una persona específica que se encargue, ¿verdad?, de comunicarse, a ser el padre de enlace o el puente entre una comunicación y otro. Hay varios recursos que se pueden hacer y ustedes ya lo están comentando en el chat, ¿verdad? Tener una forma, una evaluación, como decía Gina, y decir qué lenguajes prefieres y de esa manera tratar de encontrarlos para poder proveerlos para ti. Porque es una forma de decirles a las personas, sí me importas. Y la forma en que te lo voy a demostrar es conectándote en tu propio lenguaje o conectándonos de alguna manera, ¿verdad?, que podamos comunicarnos y podemos satisfacer las necesidades tanto de la organización como de las personas a las que servimos. Así que gracias, Tarcisio, por estar poniendo en el chat.
Sorry, I'm not able to multitask. It's just most of you do. But anyway, I see Yesenia wrote in the chat. This is why I have decided to relearn and refocus. And Gina and Yesenia and Rosemary, you guys, you ladies, you all tell me like, I want to hear more from you. You want to open up your mic and say a little bit more, because Sarah and I have some experience, but when we all bring the experience and the wisdom into the room, our imagination goes even beyond those places, you know. So, but I like this, relearn my and focus on strengthening my Spanish, because my community has a lot of clients who speak or prefer Spanish. Great points. Yeah, let me tell you this. I can even, I mean, my jokes in español are even better. Sara doesn't agree with that. Mis chistes en español son todavía mejor que en inglés. I don't know about that. Speaking the language is more than just, as Sara was saying, you know, translating and adapting. It is being sensitive, as I said, to certain words, to the history of the people, the audience you have in front of you. And if you're not aware of that, be open. I mean, Yesenia said to relearn, to refocus, right? Do I know everything about Spanish-speaking population? Do I know everything about the immigrant community here? Not just the Spanish-speaking immigrants. I know we have some commonalities with the African immigrant Africans, with the Middle Eastern people, immigrants. There is something in common with immigrants, but there is a difference. I can see the difference even, Sarah, you haven't gotten there yet, but I am the grandparent of 5 grandchildren. The youngest of my grandchildren doesn't speak Spanish, and 4 of them do. And sometimes I joke or use sayings, you know, because sayings are popular wisdom, right? Si del cielo te caen limones, in español is not if you get lemons from the sky, and in English is if life gives you lemons, right, or throws you lemons. So even making those translations adaptable, you know, and people are, what are you trying to say? They're adapting the English into Spanish, and we call it Spanglish, right? Not even dual language sometimes. How does that change the culture? And it's not anymore just a bunch of group of people who speak Spanish. It just goes morphing, transforming according to the circumstances. Mm-hmm. So en mi caso, que los chistes no me salen igual en inglés que en español, qué importante es tener en cuenta que mi generación de inmigrantes es un poco parecida a la generación de mis hijos, but different, muy distinto a la de mis nietos. Ya cambió. It's a different kind of diversity. It's kind of a different morphing. Una generación distinta a la de los nietos, a lo que es. We still have some dual language. Todavía tenemos un lenguaje dual, lenguaje bilingüe, si quieres, but it's different, es distinto. I don't know, does any of you out there relates to this? And it doesn't have to be español. It could be any other language. ¿Alguien se relaciona con esto que estoy platicando? Nomás soy yo que ando aquí de loco. But it's just me with my crazy ideas.
Rosemary said yes. So definitely, Tarcisio. And again, I have been through a lot of situations during my journey here in the United States with my effort, trying to be included, right? And one of those things is definitely learn more, a little bit more about the language. And I have been in organizations. I do still remember when I started practicing my English in a early childhood in a reception. And I do remember having those calls and when someone wanted to talk to me, and like after like 2 or 3 weeks, they were so tired of like listening to my heavy accent, and they were like, let me talk to someone who really speak English. And I got like very like excited about that question. And I said, well, I'm the only one who can talk to you today. And it was just funny because even though I had a lot of coworkers that were just speaking English only, I mean, my goal was to practice my English. And I just want to like really begging people to give me the opportunity to do that. And also when I was in the meetings and for my children, they were like, okay, so you can be here, but you're going to be using a translator. So you guys can be on the back of the room. So you're not really disturbing the conference or the workshop or anything. And I was like included, but not really included. I feel like, so you really want me, you said you love parents and you want parents to come to your meetings, but you're putting me on the back of the room because I'm not like a really good for the presenter to be there, and it's just like have someone translating for me. And there's like also the translation equipment, like we have like people that is translating like simultaneously. It's great, but not a lot of the times it's really great. Because when you have like the space, like right now, right, to have like one part in English and then do it in Spanish, it's just like really creating that patience for people. And sometimes like, I don't have patience for this. Come on, let's go to the point. And it's part of that, like really going through the process, and that happens to me, but now I truly understand like it's necessary. And I also have had this kind of conversation with people that they don't like really have daily conversations with Latinos. And I go there and ask for anything, and they're like getting shocked. They close their mind and they're like, I don't understand you. I'm like, yeah, you do. I can write it down for you. But it's not about my language. It's just like they feel like a Latino's coming to my face, then I'm not going to know anything. I'm not going to understand anything. So there's a lot of like really great things that we could do, and just being open to the beauty of diversity. I could say that. Tarcisio, you want to add anything
thank you,
else?
Sarah. Yeah, I mean, what you were saying is about the accent, or is it about what's behind it, right? The wisdom, the personal experience, your story. I constantly share that we all love stories coming from someone else. That's why we love soap operas. La Rosa de Guadalupe, right? Because we want to like, okay, let me hear about that. Somehow we learn. And so being open to relearn, to refocus. I mean, Yesenia Rosemary wrote that. How important it is. So being exposed and just being open, we can learn so much from each other. Not just me, like, okay, I'm the one who is coming telling you everything. No, I can learn from this country, from the people that came to this country, from the people who have been the ethnic groups that have been here before me, the Italians, the Irish, the African-American groups. And again, just for the concept of becoming one, us, a more perfect union. I don't know if I can hammer this enough. So, viniendo de Sara, sus experiencias, ¿no? Es siempre interesante. Yo creo que he estado entrenando con Sara pues desde el 2010, si no es que antes de que yo naciera. Pero, I mean, it's always maybe the same story, it's just different from a different perspective. ¿Es la misma historia? I don't know. Siempre es nuevo para mí. Gracias por compartir, Sara, y todos los que están compartiendo sus experiencias en el chat. Everyone that is sharing their experiences in the chat. Please keep on doing that. I can always relearn, refocus. Siempre puedo reaprender y reenfocarme.
Thank you, Tarcisio. And we can go to the next one. I can't believe how fast the time is flying. Thank you, Andrew.
Oh, by the way, Sarah, once I was coming from, I think it was New Jersey, and we got stranded because there was a storm here at Midway. And I was traveling with Dara, and everyone wanted to look for a place to stay that night because we were not traveling here. We were not getting that night here. And everyone, oh no, they are not answering, it's taking forever, as Teresa Taylor's mentioned here, right? And guess what? Dara goes like, hey, can you speak Espanol? And ask them. So I used the Spanish line and I got through like in no time, really. I went like, okay, no one was trying to the Spanish speaking line. So Teresa, there is some hope in there.
Yeah, definitely. También me ha pasado a mí. Lo intento en español, ¿verdad? Para tratar de decir, hey, necesitamos los servicios en español, pero también las horas. Así que mejor me rindo y digo, ah, ya, lo voy a hacer en inglés. Pero qué importante es, ¿verdad? Cuando hablamos español, hablar en español, aunque haya intérprete y aunque sepamos el inglés, abogar por nuestra gente que no lo puede hablar, que no lo puede entender. Y me recuerdo mucho de ti, Tarcisio, cuando hacíamos nuestras conferencias a nivel estado en Chicago con todos los padres líderes y hacíamos diferentes talleres, ¿verdad? Y teníamos tanta gente bilingüe, pero Tarcisio siempre estaba, no, vénganse a los de español. Sabemos que entiendes muy bien el inglés, pero vente a los de español porque lo que queremos que crear es esa cultura de que la gente latina necesita los servicios. Y muchas veces también nos hemos dado cuenta. Bueno, voy a ir con la siguiente pregunta porque creo que viene parte de esto. How open is your organization to providing a safe space for people to practice their own language? ¿Qué tan abierta está su organización a proporcionar un espacio seguro para que las personas practiquen su propio idioma? And I was sharing just the Tarcisio when we just met and we have like this long state conferences with parents and we had like offering different workshops, different trainings, and there were like a lot of Latino community that was bilingual. And Tarcisio was at the door saying like, no, I know that your English is perfect, but guess what? We need you the Spanish workshops because we really want to like increase the numbers that we have coming and the need, right? So the organization can support us more with materials and resources for the Latino community. Like we really wanted to prove that it was needed because if we always have like the bilingual people sitting at the English workshops, we would never have the same support for the Latino community. So one of the things that I have learned is that like, even if I'm in a conference and there's a translator there, I always speak Spanish because I'm just want to increase that culture and awareness that, hey, we need the Spanish services. And I know that the resources are there, but if nobody asks for them, we're not gonna get them. So I think that's one of the things that Be Strong Families has been done really great. Just given the opportunity, and I'm just going with this question, I'm also thinking about one of the experiences that I had in one of my works. I was having a conversation in Spanish with one of my coworkers, and my supervisor passed, and she said, "You're not allowed to speak Spanish when you are at work." And I felt terrible because we were having a conversation about work, but of course, I feel more comfortable having the conversation in Spanish. And it was just a shock for me until I knew that it was not allowed for supervisors to say, you're not allowed to speak Spanish while in work. We were allowed to speak our own language. So yeah, I think that's one of the experiences that I have had in how we can make sure that we provide the space for our clients, for our families, for our coworkers. Even like, I don't know, multicultural potlucks, meetings. I don't know, Tarcisio, we also have like a lot of like create conversations. I do remember that you guys created a song for that in English and Spanish, and we just sing that song before we start the meeting. It just feel like really good.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, for reminding me that confabs we used to call those state conferences. So confab is confabular, and you can imagine confabulate in English. The idea of confabular in Espanol is like this: you're a little kid, you are kind of getting together, huddling, 3-4 kids, and planning on something mischievous. So that was confabs that we used to have. Yeah, I can remember from day one, it wasn't just only language. Let me tell you this though. And I never been prohibited from speaking the language. Or there was one time when things were getting complicated, that, yeah, why do we have to do this whole thing, translating, adapting, even for parent leaders, parents saying like, okay, so are they bilingual? And I go like, no. So how are they going to be in our meetings? And I said, we provide the services for them to be part of it, with the intentionality of them advancing their own agenda and hopefully soon becoming solid enough to speak another language, not just English. If there is a need, they can learn other languages, because you as a parent, me as a parent, I'm going to do whatever it takes for my children to advance. Most of us do, if not all of us. So yeah, my organization, I got to give kudos, not without some resistance, but then again, because of my own personal experience, because not always I felt included in some things, and then being open and say, okay, so you want español, guess what? Now we're assigning you to do a café in Chinese. And I go, but I don't speak the language. And they go like, oh, someone else does. And that someone else speaks English. So do what you need to do. You talk about language now, and I want to insist on being inclusive, right? Gender, sexuality, you name it. This is painstaking to a certain extent, but it's make me more a whole person, a more holistic approach to the whole thing of diversity. So me siento una persona más completa porque he sido expuesto a un montón de oportunidades de diversidad. En un momento dado en Be Strong Families hubo resistencia por lo complicado que es hablar otros idiomas, hacer cosas en otros idiomas, talleres, etcétera, organizar comidas, tipos de comidas, right? Different type of food, not just Mexican food. Now you got to think about Guatemalan food, Puerto Rican, Cuban. We even had some Uruguayan food because we have an Uruguayan person here with us. You remember? In California, Francisco. So it's kind of, everybody has a place. That's what hosting cafes makes so much sense, We are not an organization, we are a hosting organization. We host, we welcome, we open the door to everyone who wants to come in. So por eso hacer los cafés hace tanto sentido el ser anfitrionas, anfitriones. Porque más que ser entrenadores, somos anfitriones de abrir un espacio donde todo mundo, todas y todos y todes, somos bienvenidas, bienvenidos y bienvenides.
Gracias, Tarcisio. Y solo para contestar al Yesenia, ¿verdad? Definitivamente, yo creo que for a lot of years, I feel really embarrassed to speak Spanish. And I'm just looking at Yesenia's comment in the chat. And yes, so I think I was decided not to teach my children how to speak Spanish so they could feel included all the time. But as long as I was through this journey and I learned about the importance of like really offering the second language to my children, and I could do that for them. So I decided to do it. I didn't do the best work, but that's what I'm laughing, because I feel like they're also like using their chopped Spanish also with talking to my family as well. But I think hiding my language, not only at work, but also in public. I was just like having this self-reflection when I was preparing myself for this workshop. And I was like, I can't believe we were trying to, my children and myself, trying to speak English in restaurants or public spaces. So we could make feel the other people comfortable and not uncomfortable just to think that we were talking about them or we were sharing something that I was not right. But I was like, we're not like doing something wrong with speaking our own language. And now my children is like, come on, mom, don't worry about it. We just can like have our conversations in Spanish. Even when I'm with their friends, they always speak Spanish to me. And we just have conversations in Spanish. But it's something that we really had to learn and go through the journey and just feel comfortable. Even with sharing my name, I know my coworkers are always like laughing about this, but I was like, so my name is not Sarah, my name is Sara. And I always said, like, if people really likes me or loves me, they're gonna make an effort to pronounce my name in the right way, right? Like in Spanish. And it's really hard, I know, but a lot of times, my son is a teacher and he's like, Mom, a lot of times when the name of the children are like Alejandro, we're not gonna say Alejandro, we just say like Alex, or we're gonna say El, or like my son's name is Flavio and they call them Fla. And I was like, so it doesn't make any sense that we're like trying to like use the best way for us when I feel comfortable, yeah, and cutting things and like, yeah, you're not this name, you're this name, because I'm a teacher and I'm like, have to do things right. And I mean, it's sad. I feel like it is sad that we not really honor people's names the best way.
But we have a wonderful audience today. And then again, chop up. My name is Tarcisio Ornelas, of course. Who wants to call me Tarcisio? Most people were like, can I call you Tio? And I go like, no. How important is honor, show respect, interest, and being open to learning a language, an idiom, a name that is hard or difficult. And most of us do appreciate people trying. Even they will never get it like Tarcisio and they call me Tarcisio or whatever. I go like, that's fine, but you're trying. Trying. Está bien si no me quieren llamar Tarcisio, pero están tratando. Sí, yo prefiero que me llame Tarcisio. Y entre muchas mujeres, yo soy nosotras. Porque por mucho tiempo también fuimos nosotros, incluidas ustedes. Entonces ya es tiempo también de cambiarle a la hoja. Right? Y decir, ¿por qué no? Los hombres también podemos ser nosotras. Y no dejo de ser quien soy, un papá, un hombre, pero ya el tiempo está encima de nosotros, Sara. So time is on us. So thank you very much. I guess there are two messages.
Just for self-reflection, we just can go through the next two questions and probably just see the slides, Andrew. And take them with you. Take these questions with you. Como organización, ¿cómo puede reconocer la necesidad de prácticas equitativas e inclusivas e integrar esas prácticas? So as an organization, how can you recognize the need for equitable and inclusive practices and integrate those practices? And I think Gina was saying something like very good, right? The best thing to do is like create a survey. What language do you speak? What different things you would like to see to feel included? And we can go to the next one, Andrew, because of the time, but also just for you to reflect on this. What's going great and what could be done better in your organization? ¿Qué va muy bien y qué se podría hacer mejor? Think about those questions, and I'm going to let Tarcisio to finish with this. And we're just like very grateful that you were here today. And hopefully this can help you, this kind of conversations, and maybe conversations that we can have. And here, we actually have nuevos videos en español en YouTube cada semana. Este es nuestro seminario en español. De verdad queremos invitar a todas las personas, a todas sus familias que vengan y sean partícipes de estos seminarios. Los vamos a tener en YouTube cada semana, así que la mejor forma de escucharlos es registrándose en nuestra plataforma de YouTube y ponerle activar, ¿verdad? Para que vengan cada vez que tengamos las notificaciones, les esté notificando. Ya tiene su nuevo video de Be Strong Families. Tenemos temas muy buenos que pueden tener un gran impacto y que ustedes también pueden usar. De hecho, si tienen un taller para padres y no tienen material en español, aquí están ya los presentadores. Bajen sus videos y los pueden usar. No sé si quieres agregar algo más, Tarcisio.
Recomendable. Yo les recomiendo, está en Facebook, Sara, cada semana también. Pero si no, hay buenísimos temas para sus familias donde ustedes también pueden sacar información. There are great themes and great presentations Sara has done and does on Facebook Live, right? Every week on Thursday, I believe. So yes, please recommend it.
Thank you, Andrew.
Please take the poll. It's very important for us to move the agenda, not just on Espanol, but also in all that is concerned about diversity, right? How great this was, or how poor it was for you. I know we understand it's tiring for some of you, or if not most, but it is also making a point. We are not the only ones in this planet. There are other people with different diverse necessities, needs that need to be tackled by our organization, by your own persona, by your own experience of not sometimes feeling included, but when you feel included, how that pays off for your organization and for the leadership of parents out there.
Thank you, Tarcisio, and being part of this campaign, hashtag Amplify. What would be the word for you today? We have hashtag Amplify feeling included or hashtag Amplify sintiéndote incluido, incluida. You can share on the chat which one would be yours. Thank you,
sure.
Definitely.
Amplify, patience and respect. Thank you, Pam. Andrew wrote, grateful to hear this conversation. Thank you, Andrew. Any other hashtags that anyone can put in there?
And with that, thank you very much. I hope to see you soon. Gracias, Tarcisio. Thank you, Andrew.
Gracias a todas. Thank you to all for showing up, and let's amplify and let's make more diverse, a more perfect union of this, our country.